My name's Mike DeVries. Been tattooing for almost 10 years now. In just a couple of months it'll be 10 years. Today I'm working on a Cheshire cat from a nice lady from Switzerland?
Yeah, right.
Switzerland. It's crazy. I got my first tattoo when I was 16, and ever since then I was just intrigued by everything about it. And I was getting tattooed like on a weekly basis, literally. And I became friends with a local tattoo artist at the time. Obviously it was underground because legally you have to be 18 to get tattooed. This guy, he had a shop in his garage. He didn't care, he tattooed anybody. But yeah, that's really the time where I just fell in love with it and I became friends with them. We threw tattoo parties at my house and all kinds of crazy shit when we were kids. You know, when I was 18, then I was finally able to go to a regular shop and I continued to get tattooed. I mean, I was covered even before I knew I was going to be a tattoo artist. You know, I went directly into construction with my dad when I graduated high school. And, you know, like 5 years later, I ran into Jim Hayek that used to work at a shop where I used to get tattooed. He actually offered my cousin an apprenticeship, and my cousin turned it down. And I said, well, shit, I'll do it. And then he's like, well, do you know how to draw? And then I said, yeah. He's like, well, show me what you got. So I went home and drew a bunch of shit and came back a couple days later, showed him. He's like, all right, let's teach you how to tattoo. So I, you know, had to do work on his house and hung drywall and can lights and paid him some money and then we got going. It was a pretty short apprenticeship, you know, maybe like 2 or 3 months. And then I was just got on my own. But I still went over there quite a bit and picked his brain and watched him. Through all the years before that, just being heavily tattooed, I always paid attention to the process. So I think that's one reason why I caught on pretty quickly, because I studied it and just knew a lot about it just even before I started my apprenticeship. So I caught on pretty good and it's working out nice. I mean, all you gotta do is just go on Instagram or Facebook and you just see amazing tattoo artists popping out the woodworks every day. And it's just like, that's what kind of keeps you on your toes. It's like, oh shit, these guys are getting really good. I better step it up, you know? That in itself is a big one, you know? But there's also tattoo artists that I look up to, you know, as well. You know? A lot of the guys that helped me out early on, like Mike DeMasi, Carson Hill helped me out a lot. Nick Baxter, he's great. Bob Tyrell. I mean, there's so many of them. It's like I can't even name them all. And then there's also the fine artists too, that like Crayola. You know, I love that guy. Trips me out. Some of his stuff. There's the people that are against any style where there's no outline, which I agree with it to a certain point, where if you don't have an outline, you just have to have really high contrast or like really dark patches of color here and there, you know, like on this piece there's a lot of black everywhere, so that kind of acts like the outline. The thing is though, is like, they say, okay, how's the tattoo going to look in 10 years? In my opinion, I think the tattoo is actually going to look better than with everything being lined to death. And the reason so is because the lines bleed out and blur together over time. So to say one is better than the other, it just doesn't sound right to me. You know, a lot of people would probably be hating on me right now because I'm not outlining it with a 3 or a 5. You know, I'm doing it with my mag, which is going to hold up just fine. Be like, oh no, sorry, it's not going to be there in 10 years. Bunch of shit. And I have tattoos that are on me that are older than 10 years with no lines, and I have tattoos that are on me with lines, and it's the same. long as the contrast is right, the values are right, and it's equal. You know, I get real pissed off when I paint because it's frustrating. When you tattoo, you have your needles and they're perfectly placed. Every time you hit the skin, you know exactly where you're going. With paintbrush, it's like bristles, they're all over the place, you know? So I get frustrated when I paint. When I finish it, I'm stoked on it, you know, when it's finally done. But I do like to do it, and I should find more time to do it. I usually have one painting going on at all times. You know, I have one that's kind of in the works. I would love to be able to find more time for it, but it doesn't pay the bills. You know, tattooing is what I love to do, and then painting it kind of comes second. But one day I'm sure I'll paint more, you know, make it more of a priority. Because I got a family too, and you know, a kid and wife and all that stuff, so it's hard to find that balance. But I do love to paint. It's just like I said, it gets frustrating sometimes, but I'm always happy at the end result. Yeah, there's a big difference in previously versus now. I don't travel as much as I used to. I used to do a lot of traveling, a lot of shows, but you know, I hate to say it, but they started to go downhill a little bit. You know, I mean, there's still some good ones out there, but there's too many of them, and it just saturated the market, so people wouldn't be showing up. You know, it's like, if I lived in LA, why fly to Chicago for a convention when I could wait next week and go to one in LA? You know, they're not as good as they used to be, so I stopped doing them. And plus, you know, the whole family thing, I wanted to be at home more often. But I still travel. I got one coming up, supposed to be going to Berlin soon, so that'll be fun. I'm co-owner with Mario Rose now. I bought into the company probably 7 years ago. He wanted to bring me in, and I was just like, oh yeah, let's do this. So I bought into it early on. It was very early stages. I mean, we didn't even have the formulations like completely dialed in yet, but you know, brought me in, we did that. I helped with promotion and all the online stuff, and you know, testing out new products and stuff, because now it's more than just stencil stuff, you know. I also have the publishing company, Memento Publishing, where we put together cool tattoo books. We publish Tattoo Prodigies, Cranial Visions, With the Light of Truth, which was Dan Smith's book. Our newest book is the Coloring Book Project, which is basically just like a huge coloring book filled with tattoo-related art. And there's a big contest going on right now, actually, that ends into 2012, where whoever colors the best page wins a free tattoo by me. And I'll fly in somebody from anywhere in the world that wins, hotel, flight accommodations, everything. So I got submissions coming in for that, which is fun and exciting. And then we have some other books coming out too that should be out in December 2012. It's just fun side projects that I work on when I'm not tattooing. Maybe not in our lifetime, but I think eventually there's going to be college courses to learn how to tattoo. Eventually, I mean, it's inevitable. Just like going to school for any type of art. And that's really going to piss people off. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm going to major in tattooing. Yeah, just wait until they get a load of that. I mean, that could be 50 years from now. You know, I don't know. But I could foresee that happening. Which goes against all of the respect factor and earning it and all that stuff. You know, it's just one of those things. It's going to piss a lot of people off. What are you going to do? Protest the school?